Got it.
All right, awesome. So this was a meeting set up between the Florida organizers for the Mises Caucus down here and Joshua Smith for his run for vice chair of the Libertarian Party. What we're going to do is we're going to run through some questions for everybody, just so questions that we've solicited not only from ourselves amongst the group, but the general membership for you, Josh. So I know we gave you a little preview on the questions, so there shouldn't be any gotchas or surprises, but we're just going to run through them together. So start with question one. What made you want to run for the vice chair position?
We can't hear you.
Josh, you're muted, bro.
Here, is that better? I just boomered it up. Sorry.
Perfect.
All right. So initially, if you guys remember, I was actually running for chairman, and Angela announced, you know, I had a long talk with Heiss about it, and I decided that, you know, Angela's a great choice for chair. I'm a big fan of Angela. I worked on a board with Angela in California. She represents our philosophy, our ideals on that board. I mean, I trusted her to be a good candidate for chair and a good chairman of the party. So I decided to step down for my chair run. I did tell Michael Heiss that I would likely run for vice chair. And they were at the time talking about supporting Aaron Adams, who is a Region 6 representative now. And I wasn't stoked about that for kind of personal reasons, to be honest with you. But then when we went into the Karen Ann Harlos situation and New Hampshire and all that stuff, and Aaron Adams was still talking about running for vice chair, I had made it very clear that if Aaron Adams voted to remove Karen Ann Harlos from the board, that I would run for vice chair. I've been on the board for 4 years, you know, as an at-large. I'm in my 4th year now. We got one more meeting before the national convention. I really have figured out how this board runs. I think I'd make a great vice chair for the party because you know, I know the ins and outs, I know the nuts and bolts, but I also have the philosophy. I know I can represent the caucus, and so I decided to put my name out there. And then, you know, I announced before I knew Eric Rodstep was running. I guess they announced that at the 50th anniversary in Colorado. I wasn't aware of that. I did an episode on my show with Karen Ann Harlos and told her that I was going to be running for vice chair. And then Angela came to me and told me that Rodstep was her choice or whatever. And I can't abide by that. Now, I mean, I could sit here and list all the reasons. I don't think that he represents me. I don't think he represents the caucus. He was voting in lockstep with the Prags up until the New Hampshire incident where he decided he was running for vice chair. There's just a lot of reasons that I can't idly sit by and watch Eric Rodstep become chair of the party. So I decided to continue to run, even if the caucus decides not to support me, that's fine. I'm still going to run, and I'm still going to be vying for delegates. But I believe that I'm going to make up as far as the announced candidates go now. I believe that I'll be the best candidate for vice chair. So that's why I'm running.
Awesome, man. You know, and you've done I'll just be the one to say you've done a phenomenal amount of work in the last 4 or 5 years. So, I mean, nobody can take that away from you as far as work. You've busted your ass. You've definitely shown your dedication to the party. Now, there are some questions from people, though. Oh, Josh, you got a big family. Oh, Josh, we know that you work a lot, you know. So how do you address those questions about time management? Hey, balancing family, work, and then the party at work?
Sure. Well, the cool thing. So when I was bitching about working a lot, it was we had a guy that went out. So we only have 4 shifts at my job, and there's only 4 people that cover those shifts. And the other day guy was out. He left. He took off, and so they were trying to hire a new person. So for like 3 months, I was working 72-hour shifts or 72-hour weeks and 60-hour weeks back to back for like 3 months. That is not my normal work schedule, man. Now that I'm back on my normal work schedule, I only work 7 of every 14 days. In fact, I have 14 days off every month, basically, which is a lot of time to commit to, you know, doing party work. And so, you know, I filled a lot of that time with my show, obviously my kids. But, you know, my work plus my show has afforded us the luxury of my fiance staying home with our children. So, we have a stay-at-home mom who's great with kids, and my job is not necessarily, I put in 12-hour shifts, so I work 7 of every 14 days. I got 7 days off to focus on the party. That's more than any other vice chair candidate running right now has in regards to time that they can spend on the party. So I honestly think that I have more time than a lot of people are giving me credit for. Should I win this election, obviously I'm going to really devote a lot of time to that. So just like I have in the last 5 years. I went to 45 states over the last 4 years. I've helped with ballot access in Ohio. I put together a ballot access fundraiser in Alabama. I've been to like every damn state convention you can name. I've traveled around and helped everywhere I can. Maybe the only difference between back then and now is that I do have some commitments, so I'm not going to be traveling every single weekend like I was then, but I'm still going to travel for this party, and I'm still going to put in time for the party, and a lot more than I think some other people on the board have ever put in. So, yeah.
I respect it, man. God bless on that, getting the whole work situation back in order there. So that's great to hear. Now we do get some shit talkers and some naysayers who talk about, oh, well, Josh has been on the board, but he really doesn't do any work, or he doesn't even know what he's doing. How do you address those slights against you? I'll call it.
Well, at first, I really just want to laugh. I mean, if anybody's followed the work that I've done over the last 4 years, damn well I've put in more work than most of the people on the board. But look, there's people out there that say that I miss all the meetings. That's untrue. I've missed one meeting this term. I missed one meeting the first term that I was on. That's it. I've missed less meetings than several of the other board members. And I do work. I work when there's a situation that I need to work like hard on, like the New Hampshire issue, the Delaware issue. I mean, not only do I work the room at the meeting, I mean, I probably called 500 people during this Delaware shit. You know what I mean? Like I do work, and people can say whatever they want. I was the biggest fundraiser in the party for an entire term. I was the #1 recruiter in the party prior to Dave and Tom getting their links. People can say whatever they want. I mean, that's fine, but my work is there. Like you can go look at it. You know what I mean? The executive director at the end of last term got up in front of the board and said, "Hey, nobody has out fundraised. Nobody has out recruited Joshua Smith. He's the #1 guy on the board." So, I mean, that's a big deal, and that says a lot. And so they can't take that work from me no matter what they say. But I put in a lot of work for this party, and it's undisputable.
Hey, man, like I said, we're covering all bases here. Now, another question we get brought up, and I mean, this is, I think personally, a fairly it's a question on why are you not more involved in Iowa State Party? I know that you were
So when I moved to,
go ahead. Sorry
at the end, Josh, you cut out there at the end, buddy. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I was saying that, I know you were talking about it on your podcast a little while back that you were looking to get more involved, but what's the deal with that right now?
So when I moved to Iowa, it was extremely controlled by blue-pilled prags. Except for the chairman who was Mike Connor. If you guys aren't familiar, he was just arrested for embezzling $10,000 from the state party. It was a fucking mess when I got here. It was super fractured. There was very little MECOX that were actually working here. And I, truth be told, I was focusing on, building my family up for that first year I was here. I am now in contact. Jacob, who's one of the kind of organizers for the Mises Caucus here, is one of my really good friends. So I was on the meeting, the last meeting with them. I think I'm going to be helping out with convention, stuff like that. So the Mises Caucus is basically taking over Iowa, and all the prags are basically stepping back and letting the Mises Caucus do it because they don't want to. Nobody wants to deal with the mess that just happened here. Nobody wants to deal with it. To some extent, that was my opinion on it as well. I didn't want to deal with the corruption that was going on in the state party here. I didn't want to walk in there and try and take it on by myself. And now that there's a presence here and people are starting to do some work, then, I'm going to get involved. But there wasn't a lot of work. There wasn't a lot of work I could do here and still focus on the LNC at the time. And so I just put all my focus on the LNC, and obviously New Hampshire took up a lot of mental capacity and, the budget and stuff like that. So now, like I said, now that it's coming together here, I am going to be more involved in Iowa, and those guys know that. So.
Awesome. Great. So, there's been some allegations that have gone around. I've seen them in some circles that there's going to be states that just will not support you for one reason or another. So what's your plans to overcome those, those rumors that, there may be whole state delegations who I just don't want Josh Smith?
I'd love to know which state delegations that is, because I mean, even in my first run for chairman, I didn't have an entire state delegation that didn't vote for me, and that was, I ran against Nick Sarwark. So, and last year we had some states that were unanimously in my favor. The only state that almost didn't vote for me unanimously happened to be Nevada, and in fact, I did get one vote from Nevada last year, which was pretty cool, because I had one of their delegates come up to me and go, "Hey, you're not going to get any votes from Nevada." And then I got one vote from Nevada, and they were all mad. But I look, I'm going to do what I do, man. Like I'm going to keep pushing these ideas, and I'm going to keep talking about how I want to build an actual media presence for the party, which is something that I'm going to focus on as vice chair. And if people want to vote for me, great. I will talk to anyone. You guys know that. I'll sit down and talk to anyone as long as they're operating in good faith, which has always been my thing, right? Like, if you guys know me, like I don't take kindly to people who operate in bad faith. Like I'm going to tell them like it is, and probably call them a nerd and go on my way. But I've worked with states all over this country. I know a lot of the delegates, and I know people that are going to vote for me in pretty much every state. So, if there's people that are apprehensive to voting for me, that's great. I have no problem talking with them, trying to, calm those fears, trying to tell them my plans and my blueprint for the party, and hoping that it works out for the best. There are some people in this party that, if they're still around by convention time, that aren't going to vote for me. I know that, and we know that if you followed my run. There's some very hateful people out there that really hate me, that have tried to get involved in my personal life and all kinds of shit. And that's just, it's always going to be that way, man, because I represent the caucus. For 4 years, I was the only one traveling around the country taking arrows for the caucus. You know what I mean? We were representing this small minority that was trying to take over this entire national party. And I'd show up to state conventions, and there'd be like one Mises Caucus member at every state convention, except for Florida and California and Texas, right? And so I represented that change. I represented that danger to these people's positions. And so I took those arrows, man. Like, I got called a Nazi. I got called a deadbeat dad. I got called a drug addict, an alcoholic. I mean, anything you can think of, these people called me it. And I did that so that we could grow this movement, so we could grow this caucus and take this party over and make a libertarian party that wasn't embarrassing for libertarians in the United States. And so there's always going to be those people, because I've challenged the king. I went at Nick. I went at Joe Bishop Henchman. I went at these undeserving nerds who have been embarrassing libertarians in this country for a long time. And so, those are the people I won't work with. I won't, because they're not going to work with me. So, but I have a feeling that, at the end of the day, we can get a lot of votes from a lot of states. So.
Well, the day I look forward to is the day I don't have to wear a hairnet at any national LP functions.
Fair.
All right. So moving along. So I know you kind of addressed this, Josh, but what's your response to claims that there are better vice chair candidates out there comparatively to you?
Well, if there is, I haven't seen any announced. You know what I mean? And if somebody that I trusted to run for vice chair and actually represented us, there's a chance that I might talk about not running. But Eric Rodstep is not that person, dude. I mean, this guy has advocated publicly for child sex changes, for crying out loud, dude. Okay, yeah, dude. I'm telling you, I'll send you guys a screenshot. I have the screenshots. This guy voted.
Talking about.
What's that? I've
seen the one I'm pretty sure I've seen the one you're talking about with the big. It's like the brick rainbow background.
Yeah.
He's talking about how. Yeah.
He was celebrating the the state of Arkansas shooting down the bill that would have kept it. It was like the experimentation bill that makes it so the parents couldn't like medically experiment on their children. Basically, he was celebrating that getting shot down, and so. But that's not it. I mean, there's so much more to this. This guy was the chair of the outright caucus, which has members like Joe Bishop Hinchman. The current chair is Ashley Shade, the chair from Massachusetts. The guy voted in lockstep with the Prags. He was a Prag until they disbanded. And he didn't start voting with the Mises caucus until New Hampshire, when he decided he was going to start running for vice chair. And he knew he was going to need our support. And further, I had a long talk with Eric several months ago when we had the special election for chairman. If you guys remember, Joe Bishop Hinchman resigned. You're welcome. I really went at Joe Bishop Hinchman. I was the one who made a motion for him to release all of his emails, and within 24 hours, he resigned from the board. I really wanted to see him go, so I was happy to see him go. But during that time, they decided we had to pick a new chair, and of course, your state chairman, nominated me for chair, Steve Nikela, and I was more than willing to do it. So I had a long conversation with a lot of people on the board. Of course, I reached out to Eric Rodstep because if you guys remember in 2020 in Orlando, Rodstep came up to me and personally asked me if he could get the Mises Caucus support for at-large. I was the one who personally went around and whipped for Eric Rodstep to be our 5th at-large nomination for the Mises Caucus. And it was purely out of unity for unity's sake. I knew he wasn't one of us. I knew he didn't support us, but I had a feeling that he would do some good things. And so I had a long conversation with him. I said, look, man, I got the caucus to support you. I'd love to have your support, all this stuff. And he made me his 5th choice on chairs and picked Whitney Bilyeu first. That's, personal shit aside, obviously my feelings were a little hurt, but personal shit aside, he picked Whitney Bilyeu, who was the Prag darling through all this, to be the new chair. There was other candidates that were decent as well, including Ken Molman, who I think, for what he was handed, did a really wonderful job. So I don't know, man. He doesn't represent me, that's for sure. I cannot move forward after 4 years of this mission and just be okay with somebody who represents the other side of all of this stuff that we've been through over the last 4 or 5 years, become an officer in this party after what we've gone through. So, like I said, it's also one of the reasons I'm still running for chair. But he's not the guy. I mean, that's not the guy. I don't know why the caucus has picked him, and they have to do what they think is right. But I don't see anybody else that's stepping up to run for vice chair that's better than me, or put in more work than me, or is going to represent the caucus on the board as much as me. So that's my feelings on it.
Well, good segue into this was, we're kind of curious on how do you feel, this term's vice chair role has gone so far, and if you were in Ken's shoes right now as the vice chair, what would you have done differently so far this term?
Well, I'm way more fit to run a meeting than he is. That's for sure. I've done a lot more of Robert's rules than he has. But I think Ken did a wonderful job, dude. Look, Ken got a steaming pile dropped into his lap, and Ken only ran for vice chair. Only ran for vice chair to save the CVCRM. That's the only reason he ran for vice chair, because Joe Bishop Hinchman and some of these other guys were talking about trying to abolish the CVCRM program. Last term, I did a lot of fighting over that with Ken on Ken's side, because I think it's a very important program. It's something I would continue to protect as vice chair of the party. It's invaluable to a lot of states. I'm not saying it's for every state, but it is invaluable to a lot of states. And I think Ken did a really good job for what he had. I don't know, I would have handled the New Hampshire situation similarly to Ken. I just would have ran the meetings a lot better. That's for sure.
You would.
But I love Ken. Ken's a good friend of mine, and that man, I don't think anybody in this party works harder than Ken Molman. Nobody, in my opinion. So.
Well, I'm happy for Ken that Noda wasn't voted on, because rumor on the street was a vote for Noda was a vote to screw Ken Molman. So
yeah, it was.
Presidential. Anyway, all right. So the good question would be is, kind of coming out of all that is, let's say hypothetically, we get to Reno, you win, you're the vice chair now. How do you see yourself supporting the chairperson, whether it is Angela or maybe even somebody different?
Sure. Well, and that's, in the bylaws, that's the actual job of the vice chair, is to support the chair. I mean, that's my job. That's what I'm going to do. I don't see, look, Angela's going to win. I'm not taking anything away from Angela. Angela's going to win this at this convention. She has to. Okay. And I'm going to support her in anything that she needs support in. I mean, anything she wants to do, any direction she wants to take the party, I'm going to support her. If I think that Angela is doing something wrong, I'd be more than willing to talk to Angela. But I know that one of the big concerns with the Mises Caucus board, as far as when we had personal conversations, especially Michael Heiss and I, personal conversation in Boston recently, he said, "You're an alpha type, how are you going to do that?" And I was like, "Look, this isn't about alpha and beta." And I said, "This is about making this party what we have set out to create, over the last 5 years." And so I'm more than willing. I know that Angela is extremely competent. I've worked with her in the past. She's really good. She's got great ideas for the party. I'm going to support her in every way I can. That said, on the side, I am still going to, as vice chair, going to work to bring more media to the party. I'm going to work with Dan Smots. I'm going to work with Christian Malzarte. I'm going to work with those guys to get more media out from the party. I'm still going to work on trying to make a media hit team. Yeah, I mean, these are things that I can do from an officer position, and I don't really need like the permission of the board to do it. So there are things that I still want to do as vice chair, but I'm going to support Angela no matter what she's doing, as long as it's not, in bad faith and, anything for unity for unity's sake. I'm over that. New Hampshire taught us that was not the right way to do things. So.
All right. I like it. No stupid prag shit.
Yeah, I'm done with them, dude.
Awesome. All right. So, this is probably one of the questions we've heard a bunch of, and I think you kind of already addressed it, but if you'd, like to get a little deeper into it, was, why wasn't there a discussion with the MC prior to you running for vice chair? Which, like I said, it sounds like there was something, but we just, I'd like to get a little bit more background on that conversation.
Man, we could get really, really deep into this. If you really want to know the truth, after the last convention, look, Mike Heiss used to call me every day, several times a day. Okay. And after last convention, that stopped. For a long time, I felt like I got dropped, man. I'm not gonna lie. After all the work I put in and all the shit I did, I felt like I got dropped. Like my usefulness had run out. And so it was a little hurtful, but Mike and I still talked, you know what I mean? And I was very clear, publicly very clear that, if Erin Adams was the chair candidate and she voted against Karen Ann Harlos to have her removed, I would be running for vice chair. I made that very clear. I mean, I couldn't have made it any clearer. And so when that happened, I announced. And but initially, I was running for chairman. And Mike Heiss knew that. And I talked to Michael Heiss on the phone and said, look, I'll step down. Angela can run for chair. I'll run for vice chair. No problem. I wasn't arguing. He goes, well, we're actually going to be supporting Erin Adams. And so he already knew that this was months and months and months and months ago. I mean, this wasn't some recent thing. And he knew that it was on my mind. He knew that it was a thing that I wanted to do. I had discussed it with him. And I told him, as long as you could show me the usefulness in a vice chair candidate that's going to do the things that we need them to do as a caucus, then I'll support him. But if not, I'm probably going to run. And then I made it very clear when Erin Adams voted against Karen Ann that I would be running. And I announced right after that. So they knew, man. It's I don't know why anybody would say that they didn't know, or that I didn't have. I've had phone conversations with Michael Heiss about it repeatedly. I had a phone conversation with him just recently, him and Angela. They know, man. So
yeah. All right. Hey,
if I could just interject here real quickly. I wasn't in any of those conversations that you're talking about, but I had heard things behind the scenes. Just from what I understand, it seemed like they were aware that you were going to run, that you were thinking about running for chair.
No. Mitch, I was running for chair. I announced before Angela did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that's as far back as I remember. okay.
Yeah, and then when Angela announced and Michael and Heiss and I were talking about endorsements and stuff like that, I told him that, you know, I'd be fine with Angela running. That's totally fine. I'll support Angela and I'll run for vice chair. So this was
Okay.
it had to be a year ago almost. I mean, it's been a long time. Whenever Angela announced 7 months ago, 8 months ago, whenever she announced, Heiss and I had this conversation, and I told him I was thinking about running for vice chair, and I told him, you know, that the only way I support another vice chair candidate is if it's somebody who's going to represent the caucus. You know what I mean? And I didn't think Aaron Adams was supporting the caucus. They wanted to go that direction to have this radical caucus, Mises Caucus unity thing, and so that they could get the Rads to vote for Mises Caucus members. That obviously didn't work out because, you know, as it normally does, the unity for unity's sake thing has backfired on us repeatedly over and over and over again for 4 or 5 years. I mean, you got New Hampshire, you got Aaron Adams, you got John Phillips. I mean, these people said they were sympathetic and then totally backstabbed us every chance they could. You know what I mean? And so, you know, he knew that I wasn't going to agree with that. He knew I wouldn't agree with Eric Rodsup. I mean, Michael Heiss and I talked every single day on the phone for 4 years. He knew. So I'm not going to bash anybody there. I'm still very good friends with Michael Heiss and Luke Enzer and a lot of those guys. I'm not friends with David Hines anymore, unfortunately, but
Yeah, I wasn't trying to like dredge up anything. I was just bringing it up because that's the information that I was aware of, and I was just trying to get a little bit of context there.
Sure. Yeah. And you guys know, man, I mean, I'm Mises Caucus through and through. I mean, there's no other caucus, no other faction of this party that represents me, man. I mean, you know, I'm not going to sit here and badmouth those guys. I love them like brothers, dude. We put on battle armor and fought in the trenches together. You know what I mean? And they got to do what they think is right as a board, you know, and if they think that's the right direction, then more power to them. But I don't think it's the right direction. And, you know, I don't have to follow lockstep everything everyone does that I don't agree with. So, I mean, that's where we're at, you know, and that's why I'm reaching out to delegates and saying, hey, you know, look at this person, understand their track record, and then find somebody who represents the caucus, because we've all taken arrows, man. We fought way too hard. We fought way too hard to be voting in Prags right now. Way too hard to get to where we are today. So I'm going to guess by you saying that your intention is to support the rest of the MC slate in Reno. Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I know the rest of the slate and I'm a fan. I mean, it's really just this vice chair position that I can't abide by that, man. I can't. Too much work, way too much work put in for that. But the rest of it, yeah, absolutely. I'm you know, I'm a big fan of Nikayla. I think it's going to be a great at-large. You know, of course, I'm stoked for a lot of these other people on the slate, man. They're great people, and you know, I vote for them. Even if the Mises Caucus wasn't backing them, some of these people I'd vote for. So, of course, man. But not Eric Rodsup, and you know, that's where we're at. I want to see all Mises Caucus representation on that board. That's all I want to see. That's all I'm voting for. That's it. So. All right. So I'm going to hit you with the last question we came up with. You know, I hate to be the negative one here, so I'm going to save this for last, but let's play the worst case scenario hypothetical. We get to Reno, you don't win vice chair. What's next for Joshua Smith? Are you going to run for at-large? Are you going to... Nope, I'm done with the LNC, man. I did 4 years as an at-large. I sweat, blood, and tears into this party, worked my ass off, and you know, this is kind of my last hurrah here. You know, if I get on the LNC as an officer, that'd be great. If not, I don't know. Maybe I'll go focus on my state or help where I can. Candidates, I don't know. But no, I put in 4 years at large. I think it's time for some new blood there. I want to be the vice chair of this party unless somebody better steps up, and that's what I'm gonna fight for. And I won't accept your nominations this time for at large. Fair. All right. I mean, I kind of wrapped up everything I had created. If you don't mind, if anybody's got some other questions that we didn't have prepared, you know. No, please. Any questions you guys have at all? Like I said, I'm more than willing to talk to any of you guys, answer any questions you got. I know that there's some serious concerns there. I think some of them are unwarranted, especially stuff coming from the board of the caucus that I helped build. I really think that there's some unwarranted stuff there. but I'm willing to talk to anybody, man. I'm willing to have this conversation and answer any questions you have. Absolutely. So please, if you guys have more questions, feel free to ask. I got some time. I'm off work for the next 3 days. So I don't got nothing to do tonight or tomorrow.
Do you mind us posting any of this on our accounts?
Oh, I don't care, man. No, I mean, I'm as transparent as they come, and I'm not telling you guys anything I haven't told the Mises Caucus board. In fact, I've told them a lot worse, probably. So,
I figured I just wanted to ask just to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Please do. Sure. Anybody else?
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Not an attorney. The inside joke. I had a quick question. I appreciate the effort you made during the New Hampshire crisis. I just wanted to follow up on that because some of it kind of fell by the wayside, which is basically a special committee got set up. It came out with its recommendations, and then sort of nothing happened. And then we found out that they delayed so long that they said, "Oh, we're not going to pay attention to it anymore. Or try to get emails or follow the recommendations of the committee." So it just seems like the whole thing got swept under the rug. And I wanted your feedback of what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Well, the emails are gone. We found that out the hard way. I think they only stored for like 6 weeks or something like that, and then they were gone. All the deleted stuff. So there was nothing we could do about the emails. It's one of the reasons I didn't push super hard on it on the email thing. You know, my initial gripe with the emails was really me trying to get Joe Bishop Henchman to resign. That's what it was. I knew that if we brought up the emails and started trying to make motions to get him to release those emails, I knew he would resign. And he did. And so did 2 other bad actors on the LNC. I naively thought that getting rid of those 3 people would make the board much better, but it only got worse after that. That's the other part of that is this board is terrible. It's a worse board than it was when I had Nick Starwark as a chair. I mean, it really is. It's even worse. And these people are underhanded. They all meet in secret. They come up with super backroom deals. They come in and vote as a block, and there's not enough of us on the board to do anything about it. The report that was put out by that committee had a lot of really good things in it. And I mean, it really did show corruption. You know, they really did prove the corruption, which was important to me. And it was also really important to Karen Ann Harlos. And unfortunately, she was removed for helping to expose that corruption. I mean, that's really why she was removed. And that lost us another spot on the board. That lost us another warrior on the board. So it got even worse after that. And now it's even worse with the old Texas chair there, John. And I don't think anything will come of it this term, man. I just don't. I don't think they're going to do anything else. I could make motions till my eyes turn blue, and they're just either they'll ignore me on the list or they'll just keep shooting them down, man. That's where we're at. They basically have a super majority of that board right now. And Reno is going to be so important, man. I'm telling you guys, you got to get there. You got to get as many Meacocks on deck as you can to become delegates. And we got to go in there and tell them to, fuck off. Really. That's what we got to do at this point, because nothing's going to come of that, because they know that their golden child will be exposed for the fraud and corrupt person he is. So that's really where we're at with that stuff, man. It's sad, but we did get to expose corruption publicly. We brought it to the light. We got those people to step down. We could have had a worse outcome for sure. And New Hampshire got all their property back and the rightful board. And we were able to succeed in Delaware somewhat too. You know what I mean? The motion for Delaware was a little toothless in my opinion. I would have went a lot harder, but we wouldn't have had the board. We were able to get the board by working together on that motion. So hopefully there won't be any more coup attempts before Reno. Does that answer your question, Hector? Chris?
Yes, you're good. Thank you again.
Yeah, of course.
Anybody else got anything for the impeccable Mr. Smith?
Impeccable. Oof. I've been called worse, I guess.
Well, just a housekeeping question.
Thanks for coming out. Thanks for answering the questions, Josh. I appreciate that, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm, like I said, I'm willing to answer, and we'll talk more when I'm in Florida, man. I'm definitely going to try come to your guys' convention, man. I shouldn't have missed last year's. I shouldn't have. Like I missed one, and now I'm getting grilled here because I missed one Florida convention.
You might.
Gotta keep.
Sorry, you guys were all cutting out. Everyone's talking at the same time.
No, I was saying you do come, because if so, maybe you can convince Steven he doesn't need to stay home that weekend with the kid.
Oh yeah, he's got. Did they have the baby yet?
No, he was telling me at our holiday party down here that they're looking to have the kid on. They said due date's the 9th, and he may not end up coming to convention as a result.
Yeah, she's big, man. She's ready to pop for sure.
Oh yeah,
she's really.
That poor girl's done.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be very bizarre for me to show up to a state convention and not have Stephen Nikayla there for sure. That'd be sad. If you guys are, I don't know if you guys know, but my first Florida State Convention was in 2017 at Fort Walton Beach, and I flew a red-eye flight overnight into Orlando. I hopped in a car with Greg Peel and Mari and drove 8 hours north to Fort Beach. I had been up for probably 38 hours, and I had just spent 7 hours in a car listening to Greg Peel talk. And I walked out of the vehicle into the hotel and sat down on a crypto panel with Stephen Nikayla and another gentleman, I don't remember his name. That was the first time I ever met Stephen Nikayla. And we were sitting at a table next to each other, and Adam Kokesh was moderating this talk about crypto, and I was fried, dude. I couldn't think. My eyes were all bloodshot. So I just started making jokes, dude. I was just telling jokes. That's all I could muster up. But it was a good time. That's the first time I met Stephen. And if you don't know now, Stephen and I have hung out in probably, 25 states together and partied everywhere you can imagine. So I love that kid, man. He's one of my favorite people. So I'd be really sad if he didn't show up to a state convention that I made it to in Florida for sure.
I would too. I would.
That's only because you'd have to chair it, Josh.
Dude, are you guys familiar with my Oklahoma State Convention story from 2017, where I showed up and the chair wouldn't chair the convention, so they ended up making me chair it?
Oh God.
Dude, it was wild. And the Tiger King was there. and they didn't have a gavel, so I had to use an ice cream scoop. It was pretty wild, man. I think I had 15 minutes to read over all the bylaws proposals, and they wanted to institute an entire new platform, and there were 3 censure motions, including one of Arvin Vora. And so I had to preside over this really contentious Oklahoma State Convention on 15 minutes prep time. It was pretty wild, man. It was a good time though. I got us done early, so I know how to run a meeting.
That's what's up.
Anybody else?
Anybody? All right. If that's the case,